All right. All right. Do you want to wait a few more minutes, Colin? You think we
Yeah,
should
let's
just
give it.
roll?
Let's give it 2 more minutes. We're at 79 right now. We should have around 100 or so on the call. So we'll give it a minute and then we'll get rolling.
Okay. Mm.
I'll tell you that that teacher tutorial page, the list for
Yeah,
people like me, it's good. They're
Oh,
short and
good.
sweet.
Oh,
And
Sherry, I didn't know where you were going with that.
yeah, no, it was good. It is
Good.
good. I only did a handful, but they're short and, you know, they're good. They're, at your own pace and all that. So
Yeah, I learned a few things myself from that page, and I also when everyone submits their questions, it gives an excuse for me to learn some new stuff too. So
it's good.
it's all good. Chris, we're at 89. You want? I think more people will come in. I'll let them in as we go. But you want to get rolling? Let's get rolling.
Okay. All right. So hi, everybody. You're going to click record. Okay, good. We're good to go. All right. So hi, everybody. I'm Christine Fogarty. I'm the 8th grade science teacher. I spent a ridiculous amount of time doing PD this summer. And so I thought I would share probably one of my favorite PDs, and it was using Jamboard, Google Jamboard. I didn't know quite what to make of it because I do a lot of interactive stuff with my kids in class, and a lot of whiteboard interactive stuff, and I just trying to struggle to figure out how can I make that work in a digital environment, and so Jamboard kind of fits the bill. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to jump into my presentation here. Okay. Do this. Can I get a thumbs up? Everybody see my screen? Not me, my presentation, yeah? Sherry, you want to give me a thumbs up? You see my screen? Okay, all right, cool. All right, so what's our objective today? We're going to exploit a Jamboard. We're going to learn how to create Jamboards that you can use both synchronous and asynchronous environments anytime, any place. That's what Jamboard's really good for. So I think I'm going to move on to the next one. No, Nicole, it's not going to work this way. All right, so we're already here, thank goodness. I don't know if everybody knows the show The Zoom back from the 70s. When I was a kid, it was really cool. All these kids in their cute little polo shirts running around teaching and learning about stuff. It's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to jump right into the deep end of the pool. And I am going to, in the chat, I'm going to put the link for the Jamboard. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this here. See, even I'm still learning. There it is, chat. All right. Everyone in meeting. We're going to jump right into this Jamboard, and I'd like you, I know you've had no formal training on this, but I would like you to just give it a try. Click around, answer the prompts. You're going to use the toolbar on the left-hand side. You can either handwrite. If you are on an iPad, you can make Post-its. And we're going to discover a few things that I'm going to be talking about with Jamboard coming up in my presentation. So the link is now in the chat. Go ahead and click the chat, and I'm going to escape out of this over here, and I'm going to get the going to go right here. All right, so everybody should be live. I'm seeing folks join on the Jamboard. All the tools that you're going to use to create one thing you learned during PD this year so far. And after you go ahead and make your sticky note, if you choose to use a sticky note, please just kind of put your name on it. That way I know it's you. That's one good way to promote digital citizenship while we're working with these kinds of tools.
Christine, I got an error message. There are currently too many people viewing this file. Please try again later. So am I off for the day?
Theresa, sadly, yes. So file this under unexpected things, right? So we have 100 people trying to be on this, and I wonder why.
Oh no, I'm fine with it. No problem. I'll listen in.
Okay, so if you notice, if you make a Post-it and you put it, it automatically goes to the upper left-hand corner. They're going to stack up on top of each other. So you have to kind of pull them, click and drag them away from each other in order to place them someplace else. If others could speak up and let me know. Oh, wow, lots of people. I'm looking at the chat now, Colin.
Yeah, I see it too. It's okay. We got 44 people in the Jamboard right now. So I think God help us if you have a classroom of more than 44 students. So
yeah, so file this under things that we learn, right?
Yep.
So here's the thing. If you've posted, if you have posted a Post-it, if you could just kind of jump off the jam.
Ooh, good call.
And that way we can try to let others jump on. All right, and so somebody moved my picture. Notice that. Somebody moved my picture. There's another caveat with Jamboard. So I'll just make the prompt again. Okay, Joe Patella.
How do you know? He didn't put his name.
You don't have to know the man to know the thing he likes a lot. All right, let's see. And I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to make it really big. That's the prompt. All right, so you can see, right? Lots of folks are going ahead and writing things that they've learned. Some folks are doing shout outs. So as you're going ahead and teaching folks about digital citizenship, keeping things on task is really important. I noticed that a lot of people are using the Post-its, which is the easiest way. You can also go ahead and use pictures here on the left. You can add circles, text boxes, and if I really want to circle some people's stuff out, you can say right here, look at this. You can say, hello, I'm on. All right, good. How to make a quiz. Laser beams can kind of like math department, more comfortable using Schoology. That's good stuff. Google Forms, that's great. Somebody made a circle. Creating rubrics, yep, I'm still working on that myself. All right, so you think you get the gist here. So John, at the very top of the chat, I put a link to this Jamboard. You just scroll the chat feature all the way to the top, and it should be the very first link. And hopefully, folks have kind of come off of it, and that way you'll be able to join. All right, so I'm going to toggle back to my presentation to kind of get you guys going with how to actually work this stuff. So, all right, so what is a Jamboard? Digital collaboration and a fun format, okay? There's endless possibilities of what you can use. I just listed a few: problem solving, teamwork, communication, creativity. You can use it for assessments, iPads or computers. As you know, you guys are working on computers by and large, but your students are going to be working with iPads, and they'll be able to easily use that there. So anytime that you might want to solicit input from students, that's when you're going to want to use this. Anytime that you're looking for feedback, you want somebody to demonstrate a task, maybe it might be peer teaching, you can go ahead and use this for that purpose. Okay, next few slides are a bunch of examples, right? People saying, well, you know, a lot, sometimes, you know, for me particularly, I'm always looking for the science angle. So how is this going to benefit me? I just put a couple of examples together. And again, you know, your creativity is the limiter here. How, you know, creativity you want to be is how you can go ahead and use your Jamboard. So for math and science, I pre-prepared my Post-its. I typed in text boxes here, and then I free-handed the line to make an example. And students can go ahead and put these things together just on their own. So you can ask a student or a group of students to collaborate on Jamboard to create the equations for whatever topic that you happen to be teaching. For science, this could be a great review tool. It could be a great teaching tool where you're just sort of popping in the parts of a cell in this example here. Notice I used a little bit of everything here to show that you can pretty much use any of those edit tools to make this Jamboard happen. I got the picture off the internet, and I used the import picture feature on the left-hand side of the Jamboard, and then I'll talk about a number of other ways you can go ahead and get your pictures onto a Jam. So for ELA, you know, not an ELA teacher, but this is one of the templates that you're going to go ahead and receive when you click the link at the end of my presentation. That will force you to make a copy so you'll have your own thing. That's kind of a really good way to keep your templates secure and ready for use when you're ready to go ahead and use them. Okay, social studies and history, you know, again, pictures say 1,000 words, questions ask you to think about what you just learned or what the picture might be talking about, and then your students go ahead and fill in all the rest of the info. I was brainstorming, thinking to myself, how would I use this in foreign language? But I thought that this was probably a great way to sort of see where our students, what is their knowledge base of what do they know about words related to the home. Okay, so now where can I find Jamboard? And oh, and I got a great question about how is it different from Google Slides? Google Slides, this is different from Google Slides because students, you can put a prompt up, and you can have more than one in a succession. I know you can do it with slides as well. And the primary difference, I would say, is I feel that Jamboard is much more interactive than slides. It has those quickie tools on the side, and then you can put them right onto the Jam, as opposed to Google Slides where you have to select from the pull-down menu. All the tools are on the left-hand side. That's what I would say the major difference between Google Slides and Jamboard is. So if you're on your Google Drive, right, clicking the little waffle will get you a pull-down menu of all of the extensions that are on there. Google Jamboard is on that already pre-populated, so you don't need to go to the Chrome extensions store and try to figure it out and download it. It's kind of far down in it, so you have to really sort of scroll to get there. So once you click on Jamboard, it will go to your Jamboard place in your Google Drive file, I think it is, in your Google Drive. And any templates or any Jamboards that you have previously done there is in this spot. Now I have a lot of templates. I have one thing I started to do about lab safety here. Yours is going to be empty until you download your templates. And you might want to keep your templates right here, as opposed to putting them, you know, in a folder with your content. Keep your original blank copies sort of in your Jams. And then I have a backup copy, a safety backup copy someplace else, because it only takes one wrong key and all of a sudden you're missing all your stuff. Okay, want to start a new Jamboard? When you're on the main screen, that shows you all the Jamboards that you have. Yours is going to be blank if you've never created a Jamboard before. You're going to go to the lower right-hand corner where the orange circle is and the white cross. Click it, and it's going to bring up a brand new Jamboard. It may ask you to name it right away. If it does do that, because I've had times where it does that and then it doesn't do that. So if it asks you to name it right away, just go ahead and name it as you're prompted to do. And if it doesn't name it, it's going to say Untitled Jamboard, and you're just going to go ahead and click that name just like you would for any Google Suite product, and then change the name. All right.
Christine, can I pause you for a second just to catch some
Yes.
questions on the chat?
Yep.
So one question is about breaking students into smaller groups. If you wanted a group of 4 or 5 to work on Jamboards, would you need a separate Jamboard for each group?
Yes, you can do that, and you can see there's a in the middle of this page that's on your screen right now. Here it says you're ready to go. A new jam is created. At the top, there's these things that look like weird little TV screens, and it says 1/1. You can add new Jamboards by clicking the right arrow, as many as you need, and you can assign them. You can say, okay, group 1, you're going to be on Jamboard 1, group 2, Jamboard 2, and you need to sort of announce to the students they need to be paying attention to this number. Now there's a little tiny down arrow here, and it's really small, and if you're working on your PC, it's a tiny little small little down caret. If you click that, you can see, like in Google Slides, where all of your thumbnails of your slides are on the left, the thumbnails of these Jamboards is left to right across the top. So that's how you can sort of navigate between all those different Jamboards.
Great.
All right, Colin, go ahead.
No, you keep going. I'll keep looking at the chat.
Okay. All right. So now you're ready to go. This is the place where you would go ahead and rename. I'll go over that in the next slide here. All right. So features of a Jamboard. Change the name as you need to. Just like when we first started, all those tools are located on the left-hand side. From here, from this one right here, this little mountain sign, this is your icon for insert a picture. It will bring up, when you click that, it will bring up a like a search, Google search box, where you can either pull images from your computer, you can look, you can search the internet for the kinds of pictures that you want, and it's ideal if you can try to like get stuff that's royalty free. I use a lot of Creative Commons stuff when I'm doing PowerPoint presentations for my volunteer work, just because I don't have to worry about copyright issues there. And then you can go ahead and size as appropriate.
There's a question in the chat about other types of media. How about adding video?
Adding video,
Is there
yes.
a live?
Monica, go ahead. Oh, no.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yes, you can add videos. I did not address that here simply because if I'm going to show a video, I might not use Jamboard for that purpose, but you could. It would just be simply inserting a link, and I believe you can grab that from the menus at the top of the page. It'd be like insert, and you can probably pull it from there. I think there's actually a tutorial in the Excel sheet that Colin sent out where you can add a video to Jamboard. I think I saw something like that there. You can probably check that.
Cool.
So with background here, you can change, instead of having it be boring white, they have a series of static backgrounds. Graph paper is a dark blue, there's a black, and you can go ahead and change it. It's kind of limited as compared to Google Slides in that way, but it will allow you to provide some differentiation. And I'll talk a little bit more about backgrounds a little bit later on too. So clear the frame. This is like the the block has ended and I need to clear the deck for another one, but just be really careful what you clear the deck. If you don't delete, if you hit clear the frame, the whole jam goes away. So if you have a prompt up there, there's the caveat, right? If you have the prompt up there, you got to make sure you just don't delete your prompt that you want to save on there. Delete all of your post-its. So I talked about the multiple jams in the previous slide, so I'm not going to go over too much more about that because it's a little redundant there. So, all right, Colin, are we good for this so far?
Keep it going. I'm seeing some questions, but I know that you have them addressed later in the slideshow.
Okay. All right. So adding media to a Jamboard, Control C, using those same finger prompts, shortcuts to kind of get you there. And this is where making a background for a jam in Google Slides. So this is what I was mentioning in my previous slide. So sometimes you may want to have a background that's a little bit more involved, and you may want to incorporate multiple components like a post-it and a picture, like in my history example on the previous slide. And so you want to be able to make sure that that represents in a single picture, and maybe it's the entire size of the jam. So a Google Jam is the same size as a Google slide. So you can, in Google Slides, make yourself a text box, maybe make a background color, and then when you have that, you can use Control C or Command Control Shift 4 to make a screenshot of it, and you can put it in there. Google Slides also has a way for you to download that one particular slide as a JPEG picture format, in which case you can just go ahead and upload a picture using the insert a picture format and then select it from your drive. So what that does is, for a teacher, that provides some security. It is deletable, obviously, as we learned from my test drive at the beginning, but it's uneditable, meaning that somebody won't be able to, they'll be able to try to move it, but they won't be able to delete those little components for it. And making sure that you send your picture, this background that you're going to make, to the back, so that way all the post-its will appear on the front. And that takes just a little bit of practice to kind of get used to. You're just like, oh my goodness, where did my picture go? It's hiding underneath your background, or it's hiding underneath something else. So I give some basic instructions here on how to download the slide as a JPEG. And if you need more assistance with that, I'm happy to help you one-to-one. All right, so adding more media to a Jamboard. This just is a picture tutorial of what I had talked about in the previous slide. This is where you can add the media here. I'll move to the next one here. Okay, so sharing a Jamboard. So I got a lot of, hey, share with me. Hey, share with me. I didn't expect everybody to be so excited to jump on. So originally, when I had sent this slideshow, when Colin had sent this slideshow out, I had the permissions for restricted because I really didn't want anybody going in there yet. And so I changed the link to Georgetown Public Schools, and I copied the link and put it in there. And that made it viewable and editable by everybody. If you're going to share from Google Classroom, you can use the same thing. You're going to create an assignment in Google Classroom, and then you're going to click Make a Copy for each student. That forces a copy, and we're going to be talking about forcing a copy out, because we want students to have their own copy of the materials. We don't want them working off our original. So forcing a copy is where I'm going to go next. You can make it view a file, edit a file, and make a copy. And if they can make a copy, then they can resubmit it back to you, as opposed to what we were doing earlier on, which is just simply everybody just sort of like collaborating all at once.
So you can really use it in both ways, Christine, right? You can use it as a full group activity or a small group activity by allowing everybody to contribute onto the same board. Or if you want it to be an individual assessment for a student or a check-in, you would force a copy, and then every kid would get their own individual board.
Yes, yes. Go ahead, question?
Nope, you're good.
All right, thought I heard somebody else speak up. Yeah, so you can use it in either way. So this could be part of like a choice board. So it's like, create a Jamboard of, linear equations, or create a Jamboard of, factors for, how the Americans became involved in World War II. It's another way for them to represent their learning that's slightly different from Google Slides. I mean, everybody kind of goes to the slideshow as kind of like that go-to default, and this just allows them to incorporate it. And another thing that Jamboard can also do by use of using the pen is that you can make flowcharts from that. I think simpler and easier than Google Slides. So that's just my personal preferences. I do a lot of like, this step leads to this step, leads to this step, especially if I'm talking about energy transformations. In Google Slides, it's such a pain to keep using that arrow tool and copy and pasting and resizing. But if I have my stylus, it's a simple arrow and done. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next one here. So saving a Jamboard, right? So we've made this beautiful Jamboard. I want to save it. Actually, I'm just thinking about this now. This is probably another way that you could create a Jamboard as a static background and then re-upload it into a Jam. I know I just kind of went in a circle there. I'm sorry if I've lost you. So let's just say students, you have students that are creating a Jamboard of their learning. And now you want them to either upload to your assignment in Google Classroom, or you want them to upload to your assignment in Schoology. How are we going to do that? So, clicking the three dots in the upper right-hand corner, as you can see, the background of the Spanish slide is right behind here. And then you're going to select the desired mode. You will likely want them to put it as a PDF, simply because it won't be editable by anybody else, and it will be easy for you to mark up in Schoology without actually touching things and things like that, right? So if you're using a Jamboard as an assessment, you'd want to have the students download their Jam in this way. File can be uploaded to the Google Drive. So it's going to download into a folder that should say Jamboard, or if not, it will go right to a folder that says that is in the Google Drive. So when they're very careful, just be very careful about how they label it so that they can easily retrieve it. I think that's one of the big things that students struggle with is, what do I name this thing and how can I find it again? So I'm really kind of strict about naming conventions so that they can find those things later on. Okay. And Sherry Patella is my bad student for the day, right? Is a student repeatedly behaving inappropriately? Well, it's really easy. Don't kick them out of the Zoom. Don't kick them out of the Jam. Just make them become a viewer. They can't do anything. All they can do is see what's happening. And this has proved to be really good when students are really they're just not following good digital citizenship protocol. I'm done with this. Boop, and you can do it right on the screen while folks are doing. You're going to click the share, you're going to find their name, you're going to change it, click the down arrow and change it from editor to viewer, and done. And when they say, hey, how come I can't do this? And they say, well, sorry, my friend, but I really don't appreciate it, and it's not fair to everybody else if we go ahead and continue to delete other people's posts. All right. So let's say you're going to go ahead and give them another chance. You can just go through the same procedure again, and then they can become an editor once more. All right, using Jamboard on Zoom. This is just the tutorial, a written tutorial about how I copy the link from my Jamboard and insert it into the chat feature, and then everybody could go ahead and load it up. So I won't go too much into this again. So you're just going to make sure that you copy your link and then you paste it into the chat feature. All right. Classroom and Jamboard, these things work really well together. I think the class that I took was about Google Classroom because I thought that maybe I might want to use some functionality that Google Classroom had that Schoology did not. And then once I found out that we're getting Schoology, enterprise licenses, the things that I wanted to do in Google Classroom, actually Schoology does as well and slightly better. So I went ahead and I won't be using Classroom for that, but I found it to be pretty seamless. So for those of you down at Pembroke that are using Google Classroom and Jamboard, I think you'll find the options there pretty robust.
Christina,
Questions?
quick question about can you search edit history on a Jamboard like you can in other Google Docs?
That's a good question. I haven't gotten to that part yet because I've literally just been trying to make sure that it works in the right ways and explore with different things. That would be something that Sharif, if you figure that out and mess with it, let me know, and I will be happy to go ahead and add that to the list of things.
You're on, Sharif.
Yeah, you're on, Sharif. I do think I can't imagine you couldn't do that. Let's put it that way, because with Google products, it's really easily searchable and easily findable. The only thing that I do know that you probably cannot do is if somebody posts anonymously and does not put their name on their post-it, and you say, so who wrote blah, 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 and then nobody owns up to it. That's the only thing. These posts are anonymous with the people that are assigned to the Jamboard. So that's why it's really important to set those expectations for good digital citizenship up front with, like, put your comment and put your name, Christine F. And that way we all know who's on there. Initials I wouldn't do so much, because if you have people that have the same initials on them and you say, hey, CF, did you write this? And then they say, no, it must have been Charlie, so it's one of those things. All right. forcing a copy to make a student in Google, making copies, excuse me. This is one of the things that I found probably the most useful. And I think a long time ago, Mary Lyon had sent out a link saying, hey, you want to force them to make a copy. And this kind of like triggered my memory. I'm tired of having my templates be edited. So this has sort of been in the forefront of my mind. And since we're going to be going by and large really digital now, I thought I would pass this along as a sort of friendly reminder to change the link. And so, for example, in the Jamboard that I shared at the beginning of this presentation, there's one little part that you have to change, and it's right down here. This word copy said edit, and then students can edit it. But when you want them to send your jam out for editing by a student, you have to make them take a copy first. Otherwise, they're going to be editing yours, and you don't want them to edit yours. You want them to edit their own. Clicking this word and changing edit to copy will produce the result on the right-hand side. So when they click on the link from Google Classroom or from Schoology, it will automatically bring up this white screen saying, do you want to make a copy? And when they click make a copy, it goes right into their Google Drive as copy of PD Jamboard example. That's what the name becomes. Then they can click on it, rename, use, save, resubmit to you for grading. All right, and so I put up a little example here for Google Classroom, and just because I felt like this is kind of one of those things that maybe if you have just been sort of like students can view, students can edit, you don't have to go through those same protocols that are on Google Drive. If you're going to put something into Google Classroom as an assignment, you want to just go ahead and make sure you click make a copy for each student. And the test jam, and this is obviously this is the file that you're sending out to your students there. All right, some important notes. I've kind of talked through these, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them, except for, if you use the same jam for multiple classes, let's say that your Jamboard is your do now, which would be a great way to start your class. Come in, your prompt question is up on the Jamboard. Maybe you have it up, the link up in Schoology or Google Classroom already. You click on it, and then they're going to go ahead, boom, they're in there making their post-its and their comments. Okay, make copies for you, and that's another reason or good use as to why you may want to put make multiple jams in one file. So multiple jams, right? Hitting that little right arrow to make multiple new Jamboards, and maybe you have the same prompt 4 or 5 times. And just making sure that you're on slide 2. A block, you're on slide 1, B block, you're on slide 2, C block, you're on slide 3. And just make sure that everybody's working on the same Jamboard. And I think once the kids kind of get into the understanding, or maybe you could even in your prompt say C block. So as if they end up scrolling through the jams, they know, oh, I'm in C block, I need to be on this jam. And they can just pop it in right there. Okay, so my last bullet here, if you click the here to view Jamboard specific videos, I know Colin's provided a bunch of them on the Sheets document. I have created a bunch of other videos that I thought were valuable to me, including one which was one of the instructors from the class that I took over the summer. And also included in that doc is a bunch of templates that you can just add to your drive and then feel free to use. And the good thing about it is those with for example, the ELA one at the beginning of my slide deck here, they all are named, so you don't need to even they don't even need to create their own. All the the post-its are right there, and people can just type their name on it and then slide it over to where it needs to be. Okay. All right, I just wanted to share one thing. So, with all this good stuff technology that we're learning, in the class that I was in, we were learning about Jamboard without even having an opportunity to preview any instructions about how to use it. And the instructor was on the Zoom. There were 10 groups of people in 10 different jams. And then she starts to screencastify while we're trying to have a discussion and answer the things on a Jamboard. So when I think about the possibilities for a Screencastify, Zoom, and a Jamboard, and it was really difficult to collaborate when she's in the background. You hear the click, 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 ding. So, you know, start off slow with this, and then run away with it when you think you're feeling confident. All right.
Good advice.
All right. Now for questions. Go ahead.
You must have done a wonderful job, because I'm looking in the chat and I think you've pretty much covered everything that's there.
Either that or people are sleeping.
No way. No way. One of my questions was, if you have a Jamboard that has multiple jams in it, or boards, what do you call it? A jam or a whatever?
There's a lot of different names for it. So sometimes they call them frames, Jamboard frames.
Okay.
Okay, I call them, my instructor called them individual jams. So it got really jammy later on because we were all jamming on different jams at the same time. So, it got a little cray-cray with that. But, you can call it full Jamboards. You can just call it, we're going to do a jam. Please put your stuff into the jam. I mean.
So if you have a Jamboard with multiple jams in it, is there an easy way to just kind of copy and paste the same prompt into let's say I have 5 different groups, but I want them all working on the same prompt. Can I just copy paste the jam into different frames?
Yes. And one of the things that I thought Jamboard could do, because I thought I saw my instructor do this once, and I was really like, wow, that's just the best thing ever, was to make your background static and immovable. And I test drove it last night to try to see if I could make it static and immovable and on in individual slides, and I could not. All I could do was make a background that would move around. Yeah. So I want to explore that a little bit more to find out, why can't I make it static? You can make, and also, I wanted to select a specific jam to assign to a student. And this is Sandra's question here. I thought it could be like a Google slide, where when you're in Google Slides, if you want to submit your slide for an assignment, you would click the address bar, and every single slide in Google Slides has its own address bar. So we would copy my link, and I would put it in my Google Classroom as, here's my assignment. I thought I could do the same thing with Jamboard, but it doesn't do that, and I don't know why. Because I thought it did work that way, but it doesn't. So this is where I'm still kind of like, and I can't even find any advanced feature video on the internet that addresses it. So I think I need to call somebody who's got, major G Suite experience and pick their brain. Amanda's asking, could you screenshot what you want static and then drop it in? Yes, and that's what I mentioned back. Let me go back here. This could be like under adding media for a Jamboard. You can screenshot it from Google Docs. You can screenshot it from a PDF. So like one of the things that she mentioned was math teachers might want to do this. They want to screenshot an existing PDF of their work, because we're all working off PDFs, or we're all working off paper copies. You can screenshot, snip, Control-C or Control-Command-Shift-4, snip that little piece off, pop it into a jam, and then students can handwrite the problem out. So that's where I like that for like math stuff, is that you can do that. One of the extensions that I kind of wish we had was the Google Snip extension, and for some reason our district does not allow that.
Ooh, okay.
Also, Slip and Slide is another extension. But see, that's the thing, is like, so this is like reaching the limit of my knowledge, right?
Fine.
But I think Snip might help. Snip might be the thing that makes the background static.
All right.
All right.
Look at it.
All right.
All right. So I want to give people on this call, well, first off, Christine, I want to thank you so much for putting this together and sharing your experience. I know how much you worked over the summer and did some great PD. So thank you for sharing your learning with the rest of us. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone else does as well. So let's virtually give Christine a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Let's take the next 15 minutes or so to maybe try out a Jamboard if you want. Maybe give your eyes a rest from a screen for a little bit. Go take a bathroom break. Go do what you need to do. Because at 11 o'clock, we are back on a Zoom link that is in that's in the slide deck for just a Google Q&A, and we've been getting a lot of good ones that have come in the last 2 hours or so. So now's your last chance. Submit those questions. We've got some answers ready to rock and roll for you. Before we log off of here, just want to remind people, you now have 2 formative assessments to fill out for the day. One is the G Suite tutorials, the Choose Your Own Adventure. Make sure you sign off that you did that. The second one is for Jamboard that the slide is on right now. You can find those in the slide deck that I shared earlier this morning. Please, please, please fill out those attendance forms so we know that you are here and that you can get credit for today's work. So we'll see everybody in about 15 minutes for a Q&A. Thanks again, Christine.
You're welcome. I'm going to stay on till 11. So if folks still have questions, and if you ever want a one-to-one about, I need hand-holding for this, please don't go this alone. Reach out. Happy to set up a Zoom.
Very cool. All right, Chris will be here. I'm logging off, and I'll see everybody at 11 o'clock.